Wow. I tell you what, over the last 12 hours I've been questioning my sanity. Last night I was out with my daughter for another walk. We're up in Skye. As if you saw last week's video, you'll know that. And it was actually, the weather was improving, so we've come up here. The rest of the country is bathed in glorious sunshine. Our drive up a few days ago was just fantastic until we reached the Misty Isle. And yeah, it's been like this. And today the clag's right down to the ground. It's just above sea level. The campsite was just about clear, but we're well and truly in the clag. So last night I was questioning my sanity because I thought, when I'm all the way up here, we are leaving today, later on today. If I could get up early, you know, why am I not getting up early and going up a hill? You know, the best mountains, well, in my opinion, some of the best mountains in the UK and Scotland are here in Skye, and they're right on the doorstep of the campsite. So I went to my bed last night thinking, nah, I'm going to get up early, set the alarm for the middle of the night. It's now 5 o'clock. I've been walking for about half an hour. And the second time I questioned my sanity after that was this morning when the alarm went off at about 4. I'm saying, what the hell am I doing? But you know what? I've not even reached the mountains yet, but I've come across this well-known waterfall. I can't remember the name. I wanted to call it Easy Annie, but I can't remember. I need to have a look at the map. I'll put a title on the screen here saying what the name is, but it's just fantastic. Very, very atmospheric this morning. Just appearing out of the mist. I could hear it long before I could see it. Absolutely lovely. So yeah, so far so good. We're going to head up here. I'll report back later on. Let's just hope it's a better day than it was yesterday. Right, let's go. So the waterfall in the area round about it really has a tropical rainforest feel about it. Well, certainly rainforest today, that was for sure. The Scottish rainforest. And we were soon heading off past the waterfall. And in Skye, on the lower slopes, there is quite a bit of vegetation. There's lots of grasses and wee bushes and heather and what have you, but as you start to ascend up the mountain, say above about 300 metres, 350 metres, the vegetation does tend to die away, and that gives you an indication of how high you are in the mountain. And I was steadily gaining some height heading up the path into the mist, and I noticed that the vegetation was slowly starting to thin and the rocks were becoming more prominent. There certainly wasn't any sign of the clag lifting though, so I had to stop. It was getting wetter and wetter. I had to stop and get my waterproof shell on to try and keep me dry for a bit longer as I headed up towards the mountain top. Oh man, stop here. Right, we're almost away from the vegetation, shall I say, the greenery, and it's a lot more rocky now getting up onto the higher part of the mountain. We're probably about 500 metres, and the only bits of vegetation are a few tufts of grass, maybe a bit of heather, and yeah, some of the heather's actually already pink and purple, a bit early for that, but still lovely. Adds a wee bit of colour to this otherwise grey, well, very grey landscape. It's not cleared. I was kind of hoping that I might pop out the top of the cloud, because as I said, the cloud base was on the ground. I've not had a signal for a few days, so I don't actually know if there's inversion conditions or not, but you know what, I'm kind of consigned to just trudging up here in the mist. It's still quite an atmospheric place, and I would say it was marginally drier than yesterday, but not by much. As you can see, I've got my waterproof on now, so yeah, I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to get on a bit and I shall report back a wee bit later. Let's go. So up I went, and the terrain became even more alien, very, very Mars-like. As I got up the mountain, the rocks got bigger and bigger, but there was still a relatively good path. But towards the top, just the terrain was very rough and involved some scrambling, easy scrambling, but also more importantly, good route finding skills, because there was some very steep terrain round about here, and taking the wrong turn would have led to some steep drops. So I had to be quite careful and checked my map and my compass bearings a few times just to make sure I was still heading in the right direction. I was still kind of holding out the hope that I might pop out the top of the cloud at this point, but the higher up I got, I wasn't seeing any signs of that. Looking up above me, the cloud was just, well, it was just cloudy, and when I got to the first summit, I was, questioning my sanity once again, because there was no way that I was going to be popping out of the out of the clouds. So I touched the top of this summit and headed over to a wee shelter of stones. I thought I'll sit down there and decide what I'm going to do, whether I was going to turn around or push on to the summit. Well, I'm at the summit of something. It's cold, it's wet, it's rather breezy, and I don't know if you can make out behind me, that's the wee summit cairn, and this isn't actually the top of the mountain. This is the first summit of the summit ridge, which heads east from here, and I've come up the west shoulder, and this hill's called Skye Gerarg, and I was hoping to show you the top of this hill actually, which probably strikes fear into many a hill walker and rambler, and it's the Inaccessible Pinnacle, and that's what you've probably heard this hill called as, not Skye Gerarg. But you know what, I'm not going to head along there. There's a wee bit of scrambling and there's no views. I'd really come up here from the views, and I'm not going to see anything, so I'm going to earn the brownie points. What time are we at now? It is, where are we? Yeah, it's not even 8 o'clock yet, so I'll head back down and go and see the family, and I'll come up here another day when there's some glorious views, because the views over to Skye Alistair, places that are just fantastic. The one thing I was going to say about Skye Gerarg was the Inaccessible Pinnacle sits next. I'll try and see if I can find some footage or pictures of it in Pin. The last time I was on this ridge, was doing the ridge actually. We did the main ridge traverse many moons ago, and it was just fantastic. Slightly different weather to this, so I'll try and find the picture. But the Inaccessible Pinnacle sits higher than the summit of Skye Gerarg, but for many years the summit of Skye Gerarg was seen as the Munro top, or the Munro should I say. Hugh Munro had actually named that as the top of the mountain and not the Inpin, and it was changed in subsequent revisions. So yeah, there you go. I'm not sure if the first person that did it, I think it was Reverend Robertson. I'm not sure if he actually went up the Inpin or not. I'll need to look into that. I'm sure there'll be some Munro specialists out there that'll be able to comment in the comments below to tell me whether that happened or not. Anyway, right, I'm going to get packed up now and start heading off the ground. There is some seriously steep ground down there, so I need to just take it easy and hopefully get back down the path and head back to the camper van and heat up before heading back home. Right. Oh man, let's go. It was a bit wet, as you can see, and trying to keep my camera gear from misting up and getting soaked is quite tricky in these conditions, because even my wee cloth was soaked through, and I was feeling a bit soaked through. So as I said, I decided just to head back here, because I knew that between here and the summit of Skye Gerarg was some of the more, well, shall we say, interesting scrambling, and I wouldn't want to take a wrong turn, as I'd never come up this way before. So I descended back down in the mist, again questioning my sanity, because I was soaked. My jacket kept my top half dry, but I hadn't put my over trousers on, so it was a bit miserable. Atmospheric, but I had to keep my wits about me, because once again the path is kind of harder to follow when you're going through this sort of terrain. On the lower reaches of the mountain it's very easy to follow, but once you get up into these big scrambly rocks, if there's no crampon marks or such like, it can be a bit tricky to make sure you're on the right route, but it wasn't too bad. Once again, I just checked my bearings every now and again and headed down into that mist and that mizzle and soaking sky, drizzly rain and cloud. Scrambling down the mountain, I was well aware that in summer, or not summer, this was summer, in dry conditions this rock is fantastic for scrambling, and it's probably one of the best types of rock in the wet as well, the gabbro, but there are basalt dikes that run through it that can be really slippery, so I was just taking my time and making sure I wasn't going to put my foot somewhere it shouldn't go and cause an accident. Anyway, I was soon back down in the tropical rainforest, passing that waterfall, and I knew at this point I didn't have too far to go, and at the bottom I joined the road and headed back along the campsite, and I was super glad when I saw the van and the tent waiting for me. I got in and stuck the heater on immediately. So, forgot to give you a tour of the new tent, or last week's video, so very, very quick tour. Front door. Well, I suppose that's the front door, but that's the entry door there. And this door can be removed completely if you're in somewhere not like Scotland where there's no midges and the weather's actually good. And you can also move these back to make them big windows, which is quite nice. Sort of drying area there. There's the van over yonder, and in here are the sleeping quarters. This is where I was last night. You can actually put a partition up, so there's 2 rooms here as well. There's actually the toilet in here as well. And so, yeah, very good. That was the quick tour of the new tent. Extremely lightweight, I think it's about 40 kilograms. Anyway, right, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next adventure.